Welcome back to Living Local. If you're looking to learn a new skill, enjoy some time in nature, and sample something sweet, you may want to consider maple syruping. Today we're tapping into the history of syruping and the process behind making this tasty treat. Joining us in studio today we have Michael Granger. He's a naturalist at the Wapsi River Environmental Education Center. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So how long has maple syruping been done and who discovered it?
Maple syruping is actually a tradition with the Native American cultures, and it's primarily focused on North America, where they do a lot of the tapping. And so, kind of a long history. They say like even a Native American tribe would move their whole village to a grove of sugar maples. And they called the sugar maple, they called it the sugar bush.
The sugar bush. Oh, this is so interesting. Well, I'm a huge fan of maple syrup, so I'm so intrigued to learn more about the process behind creating it. Now, how do you identify a sugar maple tree?
Okay, well, I've got some twigs here for sugar maples. Okay, and so one thing you want to look at is the branching. So opposite branching. Okay, so see how that branch comes off that way. That tells me it's opposite. Sugar maples have very small buds on them, and you see how that color is kind of a light brown? Okay, that tells me that's a sugar maple.
Gotcha. Okay, so those are some tips and tricks to figure out the sugar maple trees. Now, what equipment do you need for maple syruping?
Well, historically, Native Americans had actually used borrow from nature. This is an elderberry tube. Okay, so you can actually hollow this out, and then they would tap and gather the sap with that. Okay, and later on, when settlers came, okay, they had metal. This is called a spile. Now you can actually go to certain stores in the Quad Cities and buy these. Okay, and that's going to fit right on the tree, and you're going to hang your bucket from there to gather the sap.
Wow.
For your do-it-yourselfer, you can go to a hardware store and buy tubing. Okay, this is clear plastic tubing. Okay, and these connectors, and you can just use that to gather the sap.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then I see there's some type of drill here. So do you have to actually drill into the tree before you collect the sap?
You do. Now the first thing you need to know is when is the sap flowing. It's going to be freezing nights and warm days. So soon, maybe a few weeks here. Okay. And once you want to drill, this is actually kind of a special drill. It's called a brace and a bit. Your grandfather probably has one of these. Okay, and so I like to use this rather than power tools, okay, because it's kind of more traditional.
Right.
To tap the tree, you want to be on the south side where it's getting a lot of the sunlight, and that's going to be where it's going to flow the first. So we have kind of a tree example here, and we're going to drill a hole and then kind of show you how to set it up.
All right, can't wait.
But basically what you do is you want to be on that south side. You start your drill, okay, and then you kind of put it at a small angle. So it goes in there. When the sap is flowing, you'll take this away and it'll actually be wet. Okay, the sap will be flowing there. Okay, and then you get your container and your tube, and you just put that in the side of the tree. Okay, and so basically like that. We'll see if we can get it to stick there. Okay, okay, and so a little more easier out in the field.
Right, no, I'm sure. This is just an example.
Right.
So Michael, once you tap the tree, how long does it take to collect sap, and how much can a single maple tree produce?
That's a very good question. It varies from tree to tree and the season and the year, if it's a good year or maybe a slow year. They say the general rule, the size of the tree, how many taps? Like if you have a tree this wide, you can put 1 tap in. If it's this wide, you can put 2 taps. Okay, and so you would just check it each day and gather that sap, and then you go about processing.
Yeah, can you walk us through what it's like to process the sap once it's collected?
If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're going to want to, I've seen guys do it in like a turkey fryer, okay, with a propane tank, and they just heat. You're boiling off the water out of the sap. Okay, so here's actually some sap that we gathered a couple years ago. Okay, you can see how clear it is. It does have a little bit of a tinge to it, and that's that sugar that you're after. Okay, tree sugar is called sucrose. Okay, and so the ratio is 40 to 1. So to make 1 bottle, of pure 100% syrup, you need 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is like liquid gold then.
Oh, yes. You'll see in the stores that these are a little more pricey.
Sure, of course. It takes, I mean, the pure stuff, it takes a lot of 40 bottles of those to make one of those. So it kind of makes sense then.
Yep.
Wow, okay. So what are the different ways that maple syrup can be used?
Of course, your pancakes, your waffles. I have a picture here, over here, of Little House on the Prairie. They actually made maple candy. You're boiling that syrup down, and then you're drizzling on snow. Okay, even Native Americans would do that as well.
Wow, so interesting. Now, what is the biggest difference between traditional maple syrup in the bottle that's, you know, conventionally produced versus pure maple syrup?
Okay, here is what you're going to have. Most people would have this at home, okay, and at restaurants. Okay, and this is actually corn syrup with maple flavoring.
Huh.
Okay, so I mean, it's still good. Okay,
It still tastes good.
It's not the real deal, as we say.
And you can really taste the difference because
yeah.
my dad actually maple syrups, and he gives me little jars every season, and the taste is just, it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it is good stuff.
Wow. Now, Michael, I understand that you are hosting a workshop for maple syruping, so what are the details on that?
We have a couple of weekends. Our one weekend is full, but March 6th we have a few openings. So you'll come out and we'll identify a few trees, and then I'll probably have a fire going and showing how you would boil the sap, okay, and then may even show you how to make maple candy.
Wow. Now, what would you say are the benefits of learning how to maple syrup?
Well, I believe it's a great time of year. Everybody is maybe over winter a little bit, so it's a good time to get out and explore and then be outside.
Definitely, and then you get a delicious product afterwards, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Michael, thank you so much for being here and sharing all the insight about maple syruping.
Thank you.
All right, guys, if you would like some more information on the maple syruping class and how to register, go to scottcountyiowa.gov/calendar. We'll also have those details posted on our quadcities.com.